Beautiful, I think that life is beautiful. You wanna see your friends, but you're stuck inside a hospital. Doctor walks in and he tells you that it's terminal. Tumor in your...
Okay, so picture this, a country with its own functioning government, its own currency, and a track record of peaceful elections. Now imagine that on most official world maps, it doesn't even exist. That is the incredible, very real story of Somaliland, and we're going to dive deep into how that's even possible.
And that right there, that's the central puzzle, isn't it? How can a nation literally build itself from the ground up, keep the peace for decades, and hold real democratic elections, but still not get a seat at the big table of nations? That's the paradox we're unpacking today.
All right, first things first, let's get one crucial thing straight. Somaliland is not Somalia. It's so important to get this right. Somaliland, up in the north, was a British protectorate. Somalia, to the south, was an Italian colony. Yeah, they were united for a while, but their paths split dramatically. And you know what? Understanding that colonial history is the key to pretty much everything that follows.
So to really get why they split apart, we have to rewind the clock to when they first came together. This was back in the era of decolonization, and it was all fueled by this really powerful dream of pan-Somali unity. Our story really begins right there, with that dream.
The history here is absolutely critical, so follow me on this. On June 26, 1960, British Somaliland gains its independence, and for 5 whole days, it was a recognized sovereign nation on the world stage. But the dream was bigger, this idea of a greater Somalia. So on July 1st, just 5 days later, they voluntarily gave up that sovereignty to merge with the South. It was this moment of incredible hope that, as you can see from the timeline, would sadly curdle into military rule and a devastating civil war.
I mean, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? The leaders from the North traveled south, and their message was simple. We are here for unity without any conditions. Think about that. They gave up their sovereignty, their capital city, their flag, everything. They sacrificed a recognized state for this bigger, grander idea.
But that dream started to fall apart almost immediately. Right away, the Northerners felt totally sidelined. All the top jobs, president, prime minister, speaker of parliament, they all went to Southerners. And then, just 1 year into this new union, in 1961, a group of young army officers from Somaliland tried to stage a coup to get their independence back. It failed, but wow, what a clear signal that this was not a happy marriage. So you can imagine, that feeling of being a second-class citizen, it didn't just go away, it festered. And then, under a new brutal military dictatorship, it finally just exploded into open warfare. This wasn't about unity anymore. This was a fight for survival. After a general named Siad Barre grabbed power in '69, things went from bad to worse for the North. The government became a full-on dictatorship, and simple neglect turned into active, hostile discrimination. Get this, a staggering 90% of all national development projects were built in the South. So, in response, exiles formed the Somali National Movement, the SNM, and the regime's reaction? It was merciless. It targeted the entire Isaaq clan, who were the main supporters of the SNM, in a campaign of collective punishment.
Just let that number sink in. 90%. In 1988, Siad Barre's regime destroyed an estimated 90% of Hargeisa, which is Somaliland's capital city. They used airstrikes, they used artillery. The city was systematically leveled, all to crush a rebellion.
And the human cost, well, it was even more devastating. The regime's campaign against the Isaaq people led to the deaths of somewhere between 50,000 and 200,000 civilians. The violence was so brutal and so systematic that many sources now refer to it as the Isaaq genocide or the Hargeisa Holocaust. It was this incredible trauma that just severed any last desire for unity with the South. So when the Barre regime finally collapsed in 1991, Somalia, as you probably know, descended into total chaos. But in the north, a completely different story was unfolding. Out of all that rubble, they began this incredible process of reconciliation and building a new nation. They literally started building peace from the ashes. And this is what is so amazing. While the world was totally focused on the warlords down in Mogadishu, Somaliland took a completely different path. Instead of waiting around for international help that was never going to come, they looked inward, to their own traditions. Clan elders led these huge grassroots peace conferences. They disarmed the militias, and this is so crucial. The victorious SNM fighters actually agreed to hand over power to a civilian government. This bottom-up approach, it built the foundation for everything that followed.
And if you had any doubt about what the people wanted, well, look at this. In 2001,
They held a constitutional referendum to formally reaffirm their independence. The result was just overwhelming. 97.1% voted yes. This wasn't a decision made by some elite group. This was a massive mandate from the people.
And look, this stability wasn't just a fluke. While Somalia was stuck in a cycle of conflict, Somaliland was busy building a real, functioning democracy. They've held multiple elections and, most importantly, have had peaceful transfers of power to the opposition party. That is the hallmark of a mature democracy, and it's still pretty rare in that part of the world. So they've done everything right, haven't they? They've built peace, stability, and democracy, all from the ashes of war. They have a government, an army, their own money, and a passionate, determined population. So what's missing? That brings us to our final and most critical section, the quest for recognition.
And here is where we get to the heart of the paradox. According to international law, the so-called Montevideo Convention, Somaliland checks all the boxes for statehood. It has a defined territory, a permanent population, a functioning government. But it lacks that one final ingredient, formal recognition. And this isn't just symbolic. It means no access to loans from the World Bank or IMF. It means their embassies abroad are just called representative offices.
But here's where it gets really interesting. Behind the scenes, there's this whole world of unofficial diplomacy going on. Formal recognition might be out of reach for now, but plenty of countries deal with Somaliland on a very practical level. Ethiopia uses its port for trade. The UK and the US work with its government on security issues. And Taiwan, another state struggling for recognition, even exchanged representative offices with them. The world is interacting with Somaliland every single day, even if it won't officially say its name.
And this brings us right back to our big question. Somaliland has proven for over 30 years now that it can govern itself peacefully and democratically. Its people chose independence in a landslide vote. So what truly defines a nation? Is it a stamp of approval from other governments? Or is it the unwavering, undeniable will of a people to be free and to determine their own destiny? That is the question at the very heart of Somaliland's story.